The first time that happened to me through breathwork, it truly felt like I was dying when I started allowing myself to feel things. And if you have lived disassociated your whole life, there's no easy way to start feeling. Welcome back, everyone. I am so excited to be with someone that I have known for a really long time. She is also someone who was on the very beginning journey of my own healing and uncovering process and had my very first breakthrough with her. I am so honored and excited to welcome Elizabeth Faye. Hi, Elizabeth. How are you?
Hi, Erin. This is so fun to be on the podcast with you.
I know. And, I was trying to think back. I think it was, I don't remember how many years ago. It was a really long time that I met you. And I met you in the hair industry. I met you as a balayage teacher. And then, really, years later, started following you into as you built wellness retreats and you built things that were geared towards the beauty industry, and then kind of broke out of that and still have that heart, but your interest became more inside education, I would say, than external education.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, we met in education and I got to be your
Mhm.
life coach for many years and love
Yeah.
you and follow you. And it's been beautiful to see your journey. And that's exactly, I kind of went from hair, external beauty into internal beauty and then to internal growth and internal healing. And yeah, what a journey. What a
Oh
great
my
journey.
gosh, it's always a journey. So
100%.
yeah, tell our listeners just a little bit about you and your story and where you'd like to start with that.
Yeah, so I'm Elizabeth Faye. I'm by trade, like you shared, a cosmetologist. And now in my career, I'm a thought leader, speaker, and author. I run a really big community throughout 9 different countries. We have tens of thousands of members in our community. I've been a coach and healer to thousands and thousands of clients. I've had over 30,000 paying clients through courses and programs. So I'm a coach, I'm a speaker, I'm a thought leader. And I transitioned through the years from like hair to hair education to business education to business and life coaching to trauma informed somatics, deep healing, inner child over a period of 15 years. I mean, it wasn't overnight, it just transitioned as I grew and my mentorship grew. So I do all the thought leader education things. I'm now the founder of a wellness company, and so I run a few different brands, but they do actually serve the beauty and professional wellness industry. And so we run a workplace wellness company called the Vitality Project, and we are in school textbooks. We do trauma-informed train the trainers for teachers, and we have a workplace wellness program that actually plugs into salons and spas and suites. And so we provide their employees, their teams with the concepts that we've taught people for over a decade to make it part of their company culture, their wellness assessments, their checkpoints, and the coaching they provide for their people. So it really evolved from like my work with people to our community, to our retreats, to organizations. And then we built a tool that's an education tool that has like an app and a community and education and surveys and all sorts of things to be able to actually give to other people. After people are getting certified in our tools and methods, we're like, how can we just give this to you? And so that's really what we're building. We're in 9 countries right now. We served over 10,000 students last year and thousands of teachers. We're in some of the biggest networks and names and small mom and pops. And our goal is really to normalize wellness, mental health, personal development in the culture of the professional beauty and wellness space worldwide and shift the industry for good. And we are well on track to do so. And so from hairdresser to healer, it's been a journey. Yeah.
Yeah. That's incredible. I mean, and the parallel is easy to find when you are working on clients. It's 100% true that you start becoming something more than a hairstylist to them. And then as the hairstylist, if we are feeling beings, sometimes we don't realize that we are. And once we realize we are, we take on so much. And this happens in any industry that you're touching someone. If we're touching their hair and we're in someone's space, we have this energy exchange. And sometimes there's so much of an energy exchange that we don't realize until it's compounded that we have taken on a lot and maybe walled ourselves off and taken away our ability to help them on our clients on an internal level when that's how we started. So for you, what was your shift? How did you realize you wanted to do something different?
Yeah. I won't lie, I've always been a dreamer my whole life. And my first mentor was actually a hairdresser. And you
Yeah.
can share my TED Talk link if you want to hear my founder's
Yes.
story. But I've shared a message for years that you change the world. And it started with hairstylists change the world. You change the world. You change the world. And talking about that the little things you do make an impact. And I shared that, and I still share that because my first mentor was a hairdresser behind the chair, and mentors have changed my life. My book that comes out is literally dedicated to mentors, from my therapist to my life coaches to my business consultants to my somatic healers to my old bosses, like just everyone who shaped me. And I can speak as someone who's been a mentor. I know I've shaped so many lives. And I think mentorship is so beautiful. But I learned from my first hairdresser, who ended up doing my hair actually for free when I was 12 until 16 years old, in exchange for good grades on a report card. I was doing drugs.
Yeah.
I was running away. Like, I had this crazy childhood story, and I ended up working for that hairdresser when I dropped out of high school at 16. And so I really saw the power in mentorship through that. And I knew I had this deep dedication to what we do is bigger than what we do. And I like had that anchored in me because of what someone did for me. It just really, I still fucking cry about it. And I've told this story like thousands of times. And it's just so powerful that we can make a difference in people's lives. I'm super kinky for changing lives. And I know the people I work with are too. And so my whole life, I just felt devoted. I mean, that's the best word, to that calling of like changing lives and paying it forward. I've always felt deeply in service to making a difference. And so whether that's dharma, whether that's, a calling, whether that's healing, whether that's ambition, whatever you want to call it. And so I always have seen the world as I want it to see, as I want to see it, and not as it is. And so I've always been like, what's the change I wish to see? And I luckily have been surrounded by mentors who've allowed me to be delusional enough to believe in myself, even a little bit, to start to, well, what would that look like? If you wanted to see it different, what would it be? Or what's the light you could bring, or the love you could bring, or the change you can bring? And I've always followed that. Like, if I thought something could be better, or, more loving, or more healed, or different, I just was like, then I'm going to try to create it. And not that I haven't failed. I failed probably more than I've accomplished things. And that's any successful person. You don't see all of that stuff until maybe you read their book one day. And maybe even then, most of that didn't make the cut. But I've just always been like, if I can see it differently, then maybe I'm supposed to build it differently. And so that's always been the shift I've followed. Like, I was one of the first people, I mean, you know this, that did a lot of things different in our industry. And I've just done it following the vision that I see. And I think that's something, if you can put your blinders on long enough to see your own vision and calling and stay in that energy, I think that's really, really potent. And what makes someone be able to be the visionary of their own life is to follow that God-given vision, or that, whatever you want to call it, universe, source, your heart, whatever resonates with you. So I believe we're all here to create some form of art change, whether it's your family, being a mother, your salon, your online business, maybe your role in another corporate company. I think we literally all can change the world through the little things we do every day.
I agree. In hair specifically, because that's been my last 17 years, I've always said that it's so much more than hair, and it's the little things that create the big things.
Yep.
You can take this into your habits every day. Your small things create your reality. Your small thoughts that you believe it yourself are actually the foundations that your life is built on. The things we tell ourselves over and over and over. So through this journey of seeing you from really long time ago to now, you're constantly, if you looked from the outside in my opinion, and I didn't know you, it would seem like you're just like win after win after win. Now, that's not actually how it works.
I love that it looks like that.
Yeah. Right.
That's great there.
Yeah. Like if I didn't know you, I'd be like, oh, she's, constantly, and you have done so many amazing things, but there are so many versions of yourselves and people along the way that you've had to let be a part of that crumble. And you've had to learn from your mistakes to be able to grow and expand. How have you been able to be brave enough to get through those crumblings and those hard times and keep your vision so aligned that you fully trust yourself and you trust something that's outside of you as well?
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that reflection. Here's what I'll say first and foremost is if you can shift your perspective on failure or whatever word you want to give failure, mistakes, and not working out, I think that's one of the greatest things you can do for yourself because it's part of the experience of growth. And if you can stop judging it and making it mean anything about you, I think that's one of the greatest tools that I learned really young. And I think it's because I grew up in a home with not a lot of money and I did drugs and I was the black sheep and I dropped out of high school and I was a single mom and I've had so many different things not work out, divorced young, left, different structures and systems I was a part of as a child. And my family was disappointed that I think I learned that it's just part of growth, like really young.
Mhm.
And I survived. I didn't die. It
Mhm.
was okay. It actually ended up being better after. And so I think pretty quickly that helped me learn that it's part of growth to have these, identity crumbles or these changes or these evolutions. And that perspective shift is that's an invaluable perspective shift to just not be
Yeah.
afraid of it not working out because you know that it's just redirection. Like I just have the knowingness that however, like when I chase that purpose inside of me, that feeling, I walk that path, that whatever comes from that is part of how it's supposed to go. And there is
Mhm.
no, like you said, finality. Like the arrival point's the present, like it's now, the moment of now. And so that shift has been really big for me. And the other two things that I believe unlock a lot of potential for us as humans is I'm really big on purpose work. I do a lot of healing with people. I do a lot of trauma healing, limiting belief work healing, inner child, a lot of somatic healing. Breathwork's a part of
Mhm.
every single modality I do. It's probably the most potent tool that I use in my toolbox. But aside from that type of work, I really work, as we're unlearning and we're disconnecting all the things that mom said we had to be here, the systems, the schools, the churches, the whatever was taught to us as an adult. I try to strip people down to what their purpose is, their dharma, because there is a life force energy that comes from that that's bigger than you.
Mhm.
And that drives me in a way that no biohacking could, no
Yeah.
coach could, no outside anything could, because it's this internal life force energy of what I'm supposed to be doing. So I always try to tap people into what it is they feel called to do in the world. And if you can get to that feeling, it doesn't need to look like it has to look like a book or it has to look like hair, or it has to look like being a wife. That's your expression of
Mhm.
your purpose. Your purpose is like who you are. And so some people call that a God-given calling or dharma or ikigai. There's all these different names in different cultures, but it's like that thing inside that moves you, that when you feel that feeling, that is electric. And in my meditation, one of my strongest practices I do is my intention is bring me back to my heart. And I do it at least once a week. And a human who lives in their heart space is unstoppable because it doesn't matter what happens to you when you are in your heart space. Forget about it. Like it's already done. It's already done.
Mhm.
And that prayer, that intention, that meditation for me, it's just like welcome back home. And when I'm in that
Mhm.
space, I know that the clarity I get, I need to listen to the feelings I feel. I can always trust that. And for you, if your heart's connected to higher power, great. If your heart's connected to intuition, like whatever name you want to give it, but that space of that has a endless amount of energy that your mental body, your emotional body, your physical body can't tap into because it's spiritual and
Mhm.
it'll fuel you. And so that has gotten me through so many dark nights of the soul, so many
Mhm.
traumatic things, so many moments of healing because I know I'm on the right path. And the other tool is breathwork. Breathwork has helped me heal so much of, I mean, my gut, nervous system regulation, my autoimmune, my arthritis, my insulin, my perspective on life. Like I did breathwork yesterday and I literally called my husband. I mean, I do this work for a living. And I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, I needed that session so bad. And like, and there's a difference between a 10-minute breathwork session and a 90-minute, right? Like I did
Yes.
an hour and a half and I was like, I know this, but wow, like I feel like I've been reborn. And it's only been like 3 weeks. So, I'm luteal. I've been going through a lot of things in my life lately. It's just the power of that is just new skin. It's holy crap. And so those tools together, perspective shift on how you identify with failure, what it means about you, it's just part of success. Being so deeply rooted to whatever it is you feel called to do and trusting that. And trust is built. It's a relationship with yourself. With time, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And breath work, like your nervous system's running the show, man.
Yes. And that is, yes.
There you go.
Yes. That is the breath work that I did with you in Tulum, Mexico was my first real breakthrough. That was, and for people wanting to know, it was truly just breath work, just going through, I think it was like an hour and a half session. It was so intense. And one of the things I think people don't talk about is maybe when they're in it, which I'm trying to do, is when they're in the shadow side, when they are allowing that side to come up and the dark night of the soul, and they are allowing, finally, their body is safe enough to be like, okay, we can feel this stuff that we weren't able to before. What is your best advice for someone going through that, allowing themselves to go through the process? What advice do you have for them to still let it happen and know they will get through to the other side?
Yeah. Oh, I've been through so much of this and I've walked a lot of people through this. So, my first thing I want to say to you is you don't have to be afraid of your emotions. They will pass. And a lot of people, I'm giving you Elizabeth statistics, not actual white paper case statistics here, right? I'm going to give you based on like tens of thousands of people I've worked with, and I've worked
Yeah.
intimately with probably 5,000 women, like in calls, one-on-one, in containers, in groups. I would say over 90% of my clients are disassociated from their body when I start working with them. That's not the entire world. That's who I've worked with. So I'm going to guesstimate that probably a lot of other people are from those statistics. And I'd say from what we see as a collective, that would be the case. So most of them are disassociated from their body, meaning they don't feel connected to their body, their intuition, their feelings. They live their life in their heads. And I can speak as someone who lived most of her life like that up to the point that I didn't. And they are nervous with their emotions. They either don't know how to feel them and they've numbed them out and repressed them. They're afraid of them. And when you don't have a relationship with your emotions, you don't know when the stopping point is. You don't know if you've opened Pandora's box and we're going to die, right? The subconscious mind is, well, what happens now? We've lived our whole life making a program to keep this at bay. And now we are opening up the doors. I want to say this, to be more sensitive is to be more alive. To be able to feel the full spectrum of your humanity is to be more alive. You want more wealth, you want more joy, you want more love, you want more, all of these things. Your ability to be able to receive yourself at full spectrum is true somatic healing. And when I say somatic, I mean your body. And it is part of it. And it is not a bad human experience to feel grief. It is not a bad human experience to feel anger. It is not a bad human experience to feel sadness. It is not a bad human experience to feel fear. All of these feelings are what make us human. They're what gives duality to the other emotions. What creates a suffering is when we get stuck in them or when we resist them. So when you let yourself feel emotions, they pass. And I always share with my clients, they're visitors in the living room. They're not going to become a basement dweller and live there like the son who never leaves and plays video games until he's 60 years old, unless you ignore them and put them in the basement. But if you have them in the living room and you listen to them and you visit with them, they will leave. The visitors will leave. They will pass. And when you make right with all of your emotions, you make right with all of you, because there's a 5-year-old version of you and a 50-year-old version of you and a 2-year-old version and a utero version and a 12-year-old and a present day version. And all of them want to be experienced, witnessed, and loved. And no one can love you the way that you can love you. And when we do that, that's why healers will use the word remember, because you weren't missing something. You're just coming back home to the trueness of what you have always been before the world got a hold of you. And so what I say to people is befriend your emotions. They will pass. You will not feel them forever. And in that comes the trust fall and the surrender and the softening. And, for many of us as women, we were taught our softness is weakness. Our femininity is weakness. Our surrender is weakness. And we identified it with being a people pleaser or overgiving. And those are wounded traits, actually, of our feminine energy. Those are not like whole, healed, reclaimed traits of us. Yours, it's super brave to be soft. It's super brave to have your heart walls down. It's super brave to be sensitive and feel. And that builds emotional intelligence. Like when people use that word, that somatic awareness where you can feel yourself in time and space and you can process and digest your feelings and not have them be stuck and be constipated with them. They want to be processed. They want to be processed, just like your food, just like everything that you have in your field, food, thoughts, feelings, music you listen to, words you hear, has to be digested through the system, energetically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. And that's why it matters what's in your field. That's why it's more work to digest or to process, or it's making you feel off, just like food would. People are the same, all those things. So I would say for someone in a dark night of the soul, you're going to have many more, but you're going to get better at this. You are going to get better at this. And what I say by better is you're going to surrender faster and you're going to trust that you can be soft. And sometimes the first few dark nights of the soul are the hardest because you don't know if you're going to make it through. You're like, I actually don't know if I'm going to be okay. And that's where I say to you, have mentors, have friends. You don't need to be afraid of your feelings. Like you don't need to be afraid of your 5-year-old self. She just wants to be reparented. So that's my loving note.
That was beautiful. I personally think that one of my purposes is to sit with people in the suffering. And it doesn't mean to take their suffering away. It doesn't mean that I am the healer. It means that I will sit with you and acknowledge you and remind you that you're going to be okay. Because the first time that happened to me through breathwork, it truly felt like I was dying when I started allowing myself to feel things. And if you have lived disassociated your whole life, there's no easy way to start feeling. It is not easy and it's not fun. But the great thing, like you said, is the loops of trauma go away. The why, the questioning why things happen to you start to go away. And instead, you can look back on things that really, really hurt you and see them as what they are, neutral. This happened to my body. It did not happen to my soul. My soul is me. I can feel this and let it go. And for people who have questioned and talked a lot, I don't personally feel that talk therapy can help to a certain extent, past a certain extent. And for me, the feeling and processing in my body has been the only release. For instance, in this year, out of nowhere, I've tried my whole life through letting things go and feel it. I've lost 14 pounds for no reason other than letting myself feel the absolute worst pains inside and then letting them go. So for you, I know you've had many of those things happen for you. What were some of your physical signs that you were letting things go?
Yeah, I mean, all my clients get hotter and they all lose weight. It's because, and there's so much science. Read the Body Keep Score. If you just want to read the trauma chapter alone, we store emotions. And that's why body-based healing and somatics. And hey, I have a therapist. I use her when I need her.
Yes.
But the biggest healing that someone can do is going to be around the body. Especially when we're talking about trauma and emotional healing, it's going to be there because we're carrying it around and we're storing it. And a lot of things just don't make sense. They weren't okay. They shouldn't have happened, but they did. And we still have to process and make peace or release that pressure or those stored emotions or those parts of us so we can move through the world with more lightness, with more ease. And so I love that you shared that, because if you're someone who feels stuck, is struggling, trauma is not measured. It doesn't, I think we sometimes have these stereotypical things that we think this is what trauma is. My things aren't trauma. Like trauma isn't what happens, it's what stayed. And so anytime something stays that is unuseful for us and we are holding ourselves back or playing small or not using our voice or covering our bodies or don't feel safe to rest or all of the symptoms that can come from that, restoring the body back to its wholeness is going to change your life. I mean, change the way you relate to everything in your life. But repeat your question. I was just responding back to all the things you said that were so amazing.
No, that was great. Actually, just from that, I wanted to ask you, how has that been able to give you the ability to experience joy now? How has
Yeah.
you going through that? How do you experience joy now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll share personally. For me, I never felt safe resting. Like I
Mhm.
really couldn't get myself to rest. And it was a lot of nervous system healing for me to enjoy vacations. I'm talking $10,000 European vacations and I would go and hate it. And I didn't hate
Mhm.
the food. I didn't hate what I was seeing. I just hated that I couldn't drop in. I couldn't enjoy and feel pleasure. So that's been a huge shift to be able to enjoy whether it's a holiday, a movie, a vacation, hanging out with my kid. I mean, that's my life. Like those are moments every day in my life. So if that was the only thing I got from healing work, that is radically worth everything. That's been one. Being able to soften with my husband. I have so much trauma around men and sexuality, and
Mhm.
as do many women, all sorts of things with intimacy and connection and the masculine and feeling safe and all rooted in lots of things, right? And I've been able to do a lot of healing around my womb and my body and feeling safe and my femininity and connection and marriage and blah, blah, blah. And that has been a journey. I mean, I've been with Derek a little over 9 years. We've been married 2.5 now, and we've been through a lot together. Like people who know our story, like
Yes.
Derek's tried to take his life before trigger warning. I should have said that before, but like we've been through a lot of ish together. And he's been my greatest mirror. And I grew up with a lot of trauma around hating men and men hurting me. And so to be able to want to be with a man and want to be safe with a man and equally hate them and not feel safe with them, which I think a lot of women experience on some spectrum, maybe not that extreme, but a lot of being able to drop in and trust someone. And that has deepened like a union and a feeling of being taken care of and like really building something that I'm honored to be in and that I look forward to being in when I'm old and gray and just like actually having what you would dream marriage to be. And it's been a process, but I mean, that's priceless. Like being able to let yourself surrender with your husband emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, any of those has taken a lot of bravery for me to let him in. And so that's been life changing. My health journey, my physical health journey is actually what got me into this work, not my emotionals side, although I learned very quickly I had a lot of trauma emotionally. But for me, it was arthritis, 100 pounds overweight, chronic migraines, PCOS, pre-diabetic. I was having panic attacks and I just was sick. I kept thinking like I had a terminal disease and I just was burned the hell out and had manifested all sorts of autoimmune issues and gut issues. And it forced me. I mean, nothing will force you to deal with stuff other than health, mental health, emotional health, physical health. Like you can have 99 problems, and when someone is sick, game over. And so that's your number one focus. And so that's forced me to get into this work alongside my husband's depression and just I can heal my own gut now. I understand my hormones, my nervous system, and so much of my physical ailments have been healed with the nervous system. And I know a lot about biohacking and food and other things now, but like literally 80% of my issues I've been able to reverse because of emotional healing, which is crazy. Now that I understand the science and everything, it's actually not. All my friends who are gut healers, they're like, I can't heal my clients' guts if they're not regulated. Like it's not going to happen. And so it's such a root cause issue. And I think we're not aware of how much trauma impacts our life until you start to unpack it. And so there's not a part of my life that hasn't touched, honestly. And both of my parents are going through deep healing. That's
Wow.
been really interesting to watch and beautiful. Like it's rippled to a lot of people. My son, his ADHD, I mean, my best friends, like, and there's people like my parents, I never would have guessed they would go on a healing
Mhm.
journey, like for many reasons. But like my dad in ceremonies and breath work, and he's certified in our Glow breathwork program, like, and helping other people heal, like just so many things. Like when they, we always say, and lots of healers say this, and they have science that can show, like with 7 generations both ways, that we impact through our bloodline. And when you heal, that shit is real. Like, even if you don't see it in this lifetime, it is real. But I am having the honor of witnessing it in so many ways in my community and in my internal family. That's when things get really personal. It's when it's your home.
Yeah. I think that's incredible. As the question I kept coming up with is so many women that I have known get scared to let themselves fully get into the healing because they're so worried that their families won't come along with them and or they will no longer relate to their husbands or
Yeah.
it's going to create a divide. So what would be your advice for women seeing that because you've gone through it?
And I've walked thousands of women through it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to lie to you. Some people do not stay with their husbands. When I say that, I'm
Mhm.
talking 1 out of 10 people. Let's have
Yeah.
I'm going to just bring some light to what I've seen. I can't say statistics for the whole world. I'm going to say based on thousands of people. Sure. Are there women who leave their husbands? When people leave their husbands, they usually already wanted to, needed to, thought about
Yeah.
it. I watch way more marriages heal than I've ever seen fall apart. Truly, truly,
Mhm.
truly. And so I just address the elephant in the room with that.
Yeah.
The other thing is your partner doesn't need to go on the same healing journey as you for you to stay in relationship with them. They just need to respect you going through healing and support you. And support could be just listening. Support could be witnessing you. I was thinking this when you said, I feel my calling is to be with people in their suffering. And I was thinking Peter Levine, he's like a trauma giant,
Yeah.
he's a big professional in the trauma space. And he says healing happens in the presence of an empathetic witness. And that's really what
Mhm.
space holders and healers do. So I wanted to mirror that back to
Wow.
you because that's why witnessing is so powerful. As healers, we hold space. We don't have to feel it, but we're witnessing it. We're honoring it. We're like, yeah, I see you, right there with someone. But so that's if your partner can even be an inkling of that, to witness you with empathy, they are a beautiful space holder for you. You may need to explain that to them because the other thing I always say is your partner didn't ask for you to heal. Your partner didn't
Yeah.
ask for you to change and evolve. And in a healthy adult relationship, we are acknowledging that part of being a human is growth and change. And so I think that's a conversation we need to normalize as people in relationships, but in relationships in general is I choose you, I love you, and all the versions that you are. And we shouldn't have to be beholden to an 18-year-old version of ourselves or a 30-year-old version. Please don't be. Like, really? Was your 30-year-old, your 18-year-old, your 25-year-old version really the highest point of your growth? Absolutely not.
Mhm.
I know who I am now. I'm going to be like way more dope when I'm 50 because I'm going to keep evolving and being embodied and becoming a better leader and a lover and a wife and all of that. And so I think the invitation with a partner is to let them know that you just want them to love you in your growth through all your silliness, your sadness, that this doesn't mean you're going anywhere and acknowledge they didn't ask for that. And also, you're evolving a growing person. And in your relationship, you'd like to love each other through all seasons because that's really what marriage and relationship is. And so, bringing that conversation up, I think, is useful. I've had a lot of clients share that with their partners and be like, okay, this isn't threatening our union. This is growth, and I'm growing. I'm healing my little girl. The other thing I tell people is to share with your partner. And I don't mean they have to sit there and do breath work with you. I mean to let them in on your growth. If they want to, of course, always invite. That's totally fine, but don't force them, don't drag them, but share, be like, oh my goodness, in therapy today, I recognized the 5-year-old version of me, blah, 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 blah. Or I'm noticing that when I feel like this, my body goes into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, or, I'm going into freeze because of this. And I need you to understand this part of me, so they can start to be a part of this relationship that you're building with yourself, because there's a level of intimacy that comes when you can understand each other's inner children. Wow. When you can understand and have empathy for your partner's trauma, what they've walked through. I mean, that's a deep, beautiful, intimate relationship. Like, I can now witness and love the little boy and my husband. That took time and work. We have pictures of each other as little kids around the house, specifically to love little Derek. So when he's acting a certain way, I can be like, oh, that 7-year-old Derek who just doesn't feel loved right now. And he's not the 43-year-old who's pissing me off, who didn't take out the trash. That's a 7-year-old little boy who like needs a hug. And like, I can go over and just be like, hey, I love you. Like, you're safe. Like, I can be a soft landing place. When we do that, we're accessing our hearts in relationship, and we can connect heart to heart. And so it's an invitation to deeper vulnerability, but also a type of marriage maybe you haven't experienced yet, but you would love and find a deep depth and joy in. And so, yeah, my invitation is they don't have to do everything you do. Do share with them. So you don't become this person in 5 years they don't know. Let them in on your growth. Like, I want to be an observer, a witness, a cheerleader to my partner's growth. So let them be that for you. Also, you need to acknowledge when it triggers them that that's okay. Like, it triggers our teachers. And as partners, we're mirrors. I would give you money if it didn't trigger them at some point. I don't believe that will be possible, because your growth is going to trigger growth for them. And growth doesn't always look like, great, I should be a better person tomorrow. It might look like it triggers a sadness they haven't felt, or an anger, or an abandonment wound, and they think you're abandoning them. So this is where we lean in partnership, and we get to help heal each other. And that's really what union is like, to be this mirror. And I very, very, very often see that this does lead to the other person considering meditation, considering breath work, considering therapy, and a deeper relationship evolving. It's not common that they don't grow at all. I don't know that I've actually seen that eventually. It doesn't always look the way your growth looks, but it does look like growth.
Yes. And I will say, in the beginning, when I started really focusing like my 90% of my internal thoughts on opening up and feeling and healing, my husband said, I just feel like I'm being left behind.
Yeah.
And that was such an honest moment, because he kind of was for a minute.
Yeah.
And now, though, to feel so truly loved for who I actually am, in like the ugliest and all of it, man, I now get to experience more love, genuinely loving who I am we've been together almost 20 years. And because I allowed him to come with me and didn't push those triggers away and push those feelings, and saw what's his was his. And then he kind of did. He would continue moving up and come with me in his own way. I feel like I trust him more than I've ever trusted anyone in my life, because he saw all of it and he was still there, and he still wanted us to be us. And then I did too. So it's really grown us together, even though it's been so much more difficult having to have this healing journey. It's given us a true, like, we are up against anything together. We have each other, you know? So I think that's incredible. And if you could go back and think to a moment as the last question, where you remember that you had to make a really hard decision to choose yourself and to choose your purpose, what would you tell another girl at whatever age or woman that had to choose herself and say, I am worth doing this for, I am worth finding my purpose, and I'm worth healing? What would you say?
That's beautiful. I've done this so many times. And I would say, when you choose you, your success is inevitable. When you choose you, your success is inevitable, and you are the greatest investment that you will ever, ever, ever pour into. And it will be a positive domino effect in every aspect of your life. And the same way, we talk about marriage. I was like, you re-choose each other times 100 with yourself. Like we get to wake up every day and be like, yo, I choose you again, Elizabeth Faye. I choose you again. I choose you again. And for me, sometimes it helps to picture my inner child because it's almost easier to pick up a kid than it is our adult self sometimes. So when I can see those pieces of myself as a little girl, I'm like, oh, of course I choose her. Like I would never leave her behind. Like I'm coming back for her. And so I'd say any way that you can soften and get into your heart to be able to do that can help you if you need that perseverance or that resilience to be able to trust again. And that trust muscle will grow as you deepen that relationship with yourself. And it will pay you forward in the future like wealth that is like building interest. That the next time you have to choose yourself, you have this wealth of knowledge, of trust, of self-love. So every time you do it again, it compounds. It gets better, it gets better, it gets easier, it gets softer, and the results get even better. And so you're the greatest investment you'll ever make. Period. The end.
The end, yes. And it's so worth it. Everyone deserves to know that they are worth learning and loving who they are truly. And thank you so much for your time today. I think it's affirming, it's healing, it's eye-opening, and it's always great to get back to remembering who we are. Elizabeth, where can everyone find you to either connect, learn from, or work with you?
Yeah. I think the easiest place is Instagram. Hey, Elizabeth Faye. Then you can find my other brands through there. There's Glow Breathwork, Join the Vitality Project, Hair Love. You can kind of go down the rabbit hole, whether you want free things, books, podcasts, courses, or just to hang out online. That's what I would do.
I love that. And I will say, if you all have a chance, go and watch her TED Talk. That is linked there as well. And I'll link it here in the show notes. But that is an incredible way to start to see where her journey started. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I am so grateful for you, for your time, and for what you're doing for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, love.
All right. I'll talk to you everyone again soon. Have a great day.